When we tokenize on July 15th, it is not an experiment. These are real trades, real shares, real cash moving, and hopefully that would be the beginning of a long and wonderful tokenized environment in the US market. So we are done with POCs. We're done with experiments. This is about real world assets moving on real rails to make a real difference.
Nadine Shakar of the DTCC just announced that proof of concept and pilots are officially over now that the Holy Trinity is in place, the infrastructure, digital cash, and clarity from the SEC. They have received the green light to go forward, and that's what they're doing. This is a major milestone for the crypto industry. But not only is it about the DTCC, it's about these other stories that we're going to be talking about as well. We have so many stories to cover in this video. It's going to be heavily revolving around Ripple, XRP, but we are going to talk about Circle, Tether. We're going to also talk about Stellar, XLM, other projects as well. So stick around for that. Even if you're not a Ripple XRP fan, all these stories that you're going to hear will impact the project you are investing in, because once they have the legal clarity, the rest of the industry follows as well. So I hope you really understand that at a deep level. Don't just click off because it says Ripple XRP. Open your mind up a little bit. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Let's start off with MSB Intel, talking about the DTCC. Guys, check it out with me here. It says breaking, the $114 trillion DTCC NSCC, which is the National Securities Clearing Corporation, is now live with 24 times 5 clearing for U.S. equities, running from 8 p.m. Eastern to on Sunday to Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Market Giant is already working with Chainlink, Ripple, Stellar, and the Canton Network. So anybody that doesn't know how the banking system works, this is how it works. You have the BIS at the top, which is the Bank for International Settlements. Then the central banks follow underneath. Then from there, we have the DTCC, SWIFT, of course, Clearinghouse. Then we have the messaging system and the more familiar faces like JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, etc. And then underneath that is all your corporations and entities such as that underneath that. As we keep rolling here, though, this is coming from Crypto Rover with Mika. So Tether's USDT to be removed from the EU by tomorrow. Crypto exchanges have to delist USDT for European users because Tether has not obtained Mika approval. EU users, regulated platforms are forced to switch to Mika compliant stablecoins to continue trading without restrictions. So this is live now. Then we have from Shanaka explaining this, so that is Tether USDT, the $175 billion largest stablecoin in the world, gone from every regulated venue in Europe at once, and it is not alone on the casualty list. When Mika's hard deadline landed July 1st, the survivors were almost no one. Of the 1,200 plus firms that once served Europe under national alliances, only around 200 hold a full authorization today, and just 14 of those are cleared to run live exchanges. Then over here, this is coming from Binance. Binance on June 25th withdraws Mika application in Greece, the regulatory tug of war behind the European licensing battle. If you want to read on about that, it gives you all the back and forth from Binance's perspective if you're interested in that. But we are seeing the tables are turning. We're seeing that crypto is no longer the wild, wild west that it once was. We're seeing more regulation tying down these crypto projects. They are doing a mass clearing of all these false projects that haven't received the stamp of approval from government. So again, education in this space is everything. But let's keep going, guys, because I do have a lot to cover. I want to make sure I get it all to you guys. Let's roll on. Let's talk about the Open Standard, or the OUSD stablecoin that you've probably heard by now, I'm sure, at the time this video is released, but check it out, coming from Patrick Witt. So if you don't know who Patrick Witt is, we have Patrick Witt. He is the Executive Director of President's Council Advisors for Digital Assets, Deputy Director, Department of War Office, Strategic Capital. And he says, another example of how clear rules of the road can unlock massive value. What Genius did for stablecoins. Think about how big stablecoins are right now after Genius passed. The Clarity Act will do for all other digital assets. So not just the stablecoins, we're thinking the XRPs, the HBARs, the XLMs, the ZBEX, the SHXs, all those things is going to help out. Let's keep rolling. This is coming from Crypto Rover. This is the big story that everybody's been following. It says MasterCard and 140 financial companies go all in on crypto. Little pun there. If you know All In Crypto, Rupert, give him a shout out, give him a follow, a great source if you need a TA. Anyway, Open Standard announces OpenUSD, a new stablecoin backed by more than 140 financial and crypto companies. Founding partners include Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, BlackRock, Coinbase, American Express, and several major banks. We're going to look at those banks here in a second. This is coming from Chad Steingraber. He says, I sense Ripple acquisition, which is funny because when you think about Circle and Ripple, there's been that tease that Ripple might buy out Circle one day. But when we see this drop from Bull Theory saying that Circle is down 16.30% today after MasterCard, Stripe, BNY, and all that announcement was announced. So we are seeing a big drop in Circle, which is pretty interesting to see. Then we get this post from Ripple stating that stable coins are transforming how value moves and interoperability is the key to institutional scale. We're proud to join OpenUSD as a day one integration partner, reinforcing Ripple's commitment to open, multi-chain infrastructure that supports institutional adoption in the digital asset ecosystem. From Monica Long, we have the future of payments will be multi-chain, interoperable, and built on institutional-grade blockchain infrastructure. I want to highlight this interoperability, multi-chain. If you've been around this channel, you know I drive this home with you guys. It is going to be multi-chain, interoperable. Stop being tribal. It makes no sense. Stop hating on other people's projects and let's start learning together. Anyway, moving on. This is coming from Chart Nerd, and he actually breaks down the ecosystem of OUSD. If you want to take a second to look at a couple of these names, I don't want to stay on the screen too much. Again, screenshot it or resources are down in the comment. Down in the video description, I'm sorry. You have the IBM, of course, all the major banks, guys, BNY, everybody's here, Visa, Stripe, MasterCard, Discover, etc. They're all in. It's insane how big this project is going to be. Then from Marco Salzman, he's speaking more on it and tying it into Stellar, which is interesting. It says OpenUSD is coming to Stellar. And it talks about who it's backed by, but OpenUSD was designed specifically for businesses. According to Open Standard, the stablecoin is built to be open, scalable, low cost, high throughput, and broadly accessible. These are exactly the characteristics that make it suitable for enterprise payments and global commerce. Circle's CCTP is live on Stellar.org, enabling a native USDC liquidity to move seamlessly across supported blockchain without relying on wrapped assets or traditional bridging solutions. It provides businesses with a faster, more capital efficient, and compliant way to move regulated stablecoin liquidity across ecosystems. Then also from Marco Salzman, we're following up about Ondo. So it says Wall Street already came to Stellar. Ondo Finance issues USDY tokenized note backed by short-term duration U.S. treasuries and demand deposits at insured banks. Now through Lobster Wallet, USDY becomes accessible inside a wallet built for Stellar users. And we move on, and it gives you more information. USDY is not a stablecoin. It is a tokenized yield product designed to reflect the returns of the short-term U.S. treasuries behind it. This means eligible non-U.S. users can access treasury exposure directly from the same wallet they use for everyday digital assets. What I want to highlight here is Sandy Cowell from Franklin Templeton is big on crypto wallets and understanding what is going to be such a fundamental change when we look at wallets. So this is all just coming together. There's no traditional brokerage, no long-term settlement, no complex onboarding, just tokenized Wall Street yield inside blockchain native wallets. For Stellar, this is important. The network is no longer about payments. It's becoming a place where payments, stablecoins, and tokenized financial products can live together. USDC for payments, USDY for yield, Lobster for access, Stellar for settlement. That is the bigger picture. Then from my post on X, this came out today as I was making this video. I wanted to make sure I get this out to you guys. It says probably nothing. It's only the project that Reeve Collins co-founded. Reeve also happens to be the co-founder of WeFi, Smart Media Technologies, Dual, and Tether. Stable is now on Stellar.org, and as you see from Stable's announcement, USST has officially launched on Stellar.org. USST is now on Stellar, making another step in the growth of tokenized real-world assets infrastructure of the network. As we put all these stories together, we're seeing the true plan unfold. Stable coins have been boring. A lot of people in the crypto space, especially on retail, simply don't follow stable coins, but you can see how important they are to the system. And as we're looking through all this, we're seeing these acquisitions starting to happen. We're seeing these companies starting to fall off. It's going to be interesting to see what Tether and Binance does now that they're now allowed in the EU. We'll see what comes of that. A lot of big changes happening right now in this space. If you blink, you miss what's really happening. And again, all these stories should just really drive home your conviction that you're in the right space. You just have to wait for the timing. And this is the biggest key, is being patient, right? Before we move on to Ripple's XRP ledger lending, and then the back end, we talk about Taiwan, Japan, and India with Ripple, XRP, and all this. Please consider hitting that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you like these kind of information where we just bring facts, look at the crypto market in a different way. And if you need a Tangent wallet, guys, I do have this link here. It's DC10 to get you 10% off of your Tangent wallets. All proceeds go to NAMI for mental health. I do not keep any of those proceeds. So if you're in the market, you need a discount, 10% off here. It's down in the link below if you want to check that out. Now let's keep on going. Let's talk about Ripple and what they are doing with their lending protocol. So this is a big story as well. And again, it does tie into all the other stories. So check this out with me. It says Ripple proposed on-chain lending for banks on the XRP ledger. Borrowing against tokenized assets, credit stays human, execution goes fully on-chain. Idle collateral just became working capital. Then from Coin Bureau, we have Ripple unveils XRP ledger on-chain lending protocol. Ripple introduced a new XRP lending protocol designed to expand on-chain finance by bringing institutional credit infrastructure on-chain. The protocol lets licensed institutions handle credit decisions off-chain, while loan terms, repayments, interest, and defaults are enforced directly on-chain. Validator approval is still pending. Then from BankXRP, they break it down even more. It says Ripple just dropped something that could change how institutions use XRP forever. It's called the XRP Ledger Lending Protocol, and it's not just another DeFi yield farm. It's credit infrastructure. And here's the thread. I'll move quick as I can here. It says the core idea of tokenization has already worked. Treasury, stablecoins, commodities are all on-chain now. But asset sitting on-chain isn't productive unless you can borrow against it. That's the missing piece Ripple is building. Two technical specs power this. XLS 65 single asset vault pools are on pools one asset XRP, RLUSD, etc. on chain. XLS 66 lending protocol originates loans from the vault under the fixed term servicing rules and repayment logic. The genius part of this split: credit decision stay off-chain with institutions. Loan execution on-chain automatically. This is how real finance already works. Real use cases on payment provider holding RLUSD reserves faces a 48-hour gap before cross-border settlement clears. Instead of the expensive bank credit line of 300 to 400 BPS, they borrow short-term against the incoming settlement, repayment enforced automatically by the protocol. Other use cases Ripple is targeting: market maker inventory financing, treasury liquidity management, structured credit products, underwritten facilities for idle digital assets, the institutional plumbing, not retail yield farming. Ripple is directly positioning this against Aave, Compound, Maple, Clearpool. The argument: those protocols provide on-chain lending skills, but crypto native governance is a deal breaker for institutions that need to be fixed, predictable behavior. Risk compartmentalized to first loss capital sits on the facility level, meaning junior capital absorbs hits before senior liquidity providers. Same structure TradFi uses for structured credit. What this matters for XRP and RLUSD: more vaults equals more deposits, more chain activity. RLUSD has already crossed $1.7 billion market cap, and working credit layer gives institutionals a real reason to hold and deploy XRP ledger assets instead of just parking them. So we are seeing Ripple XRP, the XRP ledger, RLUSD taking off this year in a major way. And to me, they're setting the standards. And again, this is where people are saying, well, XRP is not doing anything, which is true. And that's something it's true, right? But the other side of this is it's also not being utilized. And we are now seeing how that's being turned on. We saw how fast RLUSD grew. And now we're going to see the XRP ledger go even more this year, in my opinion, as we move into 2027. And while we're thinking about that, let's check out from Evernorth a couple of posts they made. And this is another piece of the puzzle. So don't forget, Evernorth is the treasury of XRP, right? So check it out. I want to move quick as I can. It says, does RLUSD eat XRP? The on-chain data says the opposite. RLUSD doesn't replace XRP. Every trade settles on XRP and pays fee in XRP. I made a video about this the other day, and I showed you directly from the XRP ledger where that states that. And we saw that 12% of all trading on XRP. So in 18 months, we saw RLUSD's share of all chain trades on XRP. So it went from 1% to 12% in 18 months. We're seeing a explosion right now happening. Then we have $900 million cleared by the RLUSD XRP pair in 6 months. And this is how the dollar actually works. It says the dollar sits on one side of 88% of all global FX trades. On XRP, the pair is now RLUSD XRP. It says more than half of RLUSD now lives on XRP. So 52% of RLUSD is now on the XRP ledger, which we showed you in the other video as well. We showed you that dynamic. And if you want to read more in this in-depth article, you can definitely do so. It will be down in the video description under sources. So we're seeing that XRP lending protocol teaming up with Open Standard. Now let's put the rest of this together and look at the rest of the world like Japan, India, Taiwan. Let's put all this together. So check it out from Pumpus. It says, I'm going to leave that part out. It says Japan and India using XRP as a bridge to bypass USD. Bank of Japan insider Yoro dropped the bomb back in January. Japan and India had a secret meeting. Now today is exploding into reality. Japan and India are pushing direct yen rupee trade settlements straight up, bypassing US dollar. But Japan's heavy Ripple SBI ties and XRP already powering real cross-border flows. They're going to use XRP in the bridge asset, aren't they? Question mark. On-demand liquidity for yen rupee without the dollar middleman. This lines up way too perfectly. Yuta was right. The quiet moves are going public. The system is shifting fast. What a time to be alive. And you can see these stories here from Crypto India and Yuta as well, if you want to check that out. As we keep rolling here from Ripple Zenity, we have Ripple is powering a real-time remittances between Japan and Thailand. As you can see here, we're going to keep on talking about this. As Taiwan, passes law establishing regulatory framework for crypto. And then from BankXRP, we have Taiwan's legislative yuan passes the Virtual Asset Service Act, establishing the country first comprehensive crypto regulatory framework with the FSC as regulators. So as we step back, we put all this together. Can you see where the market is moving? Can you see where the institutions are stepping in? Can you see where they are priming the market to benefit them? All this is a plan unfolding, in my opinion, and we're watching it in real time. And again, staying tribal does nothing for you in this space unless you're playing the meme coins and you're here just to make a quick buck. You know, that's your thing. No hate on you whatsoever. That's your thing. That's fine. But if you're here for the long term, like I am, and I'm believing in this project in the long term, this is all good validation for what's to come. Yes, we have not seen the price action match this yet, but that will come later down the road. Now that we have a strong foundation, we can build atop that foundation. That's what you're really seeing here. So I hope that you understand that on the more macro view of what's really happening. And I know this was a longer video, guys, but like I said, there was so much information I wanted to get out. I didn't want to do a 2-part video. So if you stuck around, thank you guys so much for sticking around. If you made it this long, please just hit, hey, made it till the end or something down in the comments. I very much appreciate it. Leave a like if you found this information informational for you. If you like this kind of reporting, again, consider subscribing to this channel if you feel like I've earned that from you. If I have, I would love to have you part of the channel. Before I let you guys go, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and become the change that you want to see in the world. Thank you guys for hanging out this long. I'll catch you on the next one.